Hey, welcome to the Relentless Pity Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Martin. My guest today is Petar Krastav. He's also known as Coach PK, and he's a fitness coach. He's got a passion for helping people achieve their strength and wellness goals through the personalized training, not these cookie cutter programs you find other places. And he has an amazing story. He has a passion for helping others look and feel their best. And he's really inspiring, guys. So, Peter, thanks for coming on the show.
I'm honored, Joe. Thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I do hope that we really bring some value today to your listener.
I'm
So
sure you
yeah.
will. You will. What you do and what your story is about. So we're gonna start there. I mean, let's kind of talk about your journey from escaping your home country and with almost nothing to your name. So kind of give us that story.
Oh, you want to know how the whole thing started?
Yeah.
Well, it did start like since I was very early, like early age, a boy really, because I think that's where it all started building up to for me to become the person that I am today. Right now, for you, thanks for introducing me, by the way. I have a fitness coaching practice, and that's what I do. For me to get here, it was more of a journey that led me to here without me really making the conscious decision. It's like that was the path that I had to take, it the only path. So it was a very natural progression. So I'll try to follow it with the story, very straight. As a kid, I was a bullied kid, that kid that was insecure, very weak. I wasn't popular. I was below average. And that always made me want to feel like I want to fit in. I always had that need to prove myself, and I was never able to. So that was my upbringing. And maybe at the age of 16 is when I first decided to do something about it. And I stepped into a gym, I gained some weight, and did give me a little bit more confidence. That's for sure. But it didn't solve the problem. And instead of just getting what I expected, I started mixing up with the wrong people. All drugs and bad guys. It's more of a gangs culture. So where I grew up, it's called Varna, Bulgaria. It's a beautiful place right now. A lot of people come here to as a tourists. It's on the Black Sea coast. But back in the day, it was declining economy in a very, very bad state. There was no good example for me here to follow. So the only example that I had was these gangsters and mafia, and they had the women, they had the cars. So for me, that was like, yeah, I want that too. I never had it. That's what I want, and I grew up wanting it so bad. So I started mixing up with these people, got into all of this street life, and it didn't lead to anything good. At some point, I remember that I had this moment when I just realized that's not for me. That's not me. I want to be a good person. I don't want to be a bad person. And I have to find a way to make my money and succeed in a better way. And I did believe that it's possible. I read some books which really changed the narrative and showed me that somebody else on the other end of the world has done it. So I can probably do it from here too. And started working towards my personal development, reading, educating myself. And later at the age of 22 is when I was getting a little bit more cockier and all that, having some girlfriends. And there was that girl that I just saw on the street, and I bet with my friends that I am going to sleep with her. Funny enough, that was a big mistake, but maybe it was meant to be, because if you hear my story fully, you'll see that this is what made me. So I got into that relationship with her. And 1 month into the relationship, she comes to me and she says, I haven't told you the full story. And I'm like, what can it be? And she dumps on me. I have a daughter. She's 1 year old. And if you accept me, you have to accept her as well. And so you have to be a stepdad. And it was a bit of a shock. But for a guy who wanted to be a man, who wanted to be successful, I said, it doesn't fit the characteristic of that man to quit on a challenge like that. It's just a kid. And I took it on board, a very naive mistake for a young guy who has no experience with women, with kids whatsoever. And I gave her a promise that I will never leave her in a situation so she has to leave the kid. So that was a key moment, because that kid has gone through a lot at that point, and they had this very horrible relationship with the father, who didn't want it, didn't want the kid. The parents, the grandparents from the father's side, they were also very toxic, very bad people. And it was a huge drama that I just found myself in between it. Like, I never had to deal with anything like that in my life. And I'm just certainly in one moment finding myself in the middle. I had to learn to deal with all that. But I gave that promise to not leave her. So when I leave her, eventually, if that happens, if we break up, I wanted to make sure that the kid stays with her and she doesn't have to get separated again, if that makes sense. And because of that promise, I had to go through a lot, and that really built me up. Further on, I had to escape the country because we had this super, super toxic relationship. I wanted to end this relationship in month 3. Like, I just wanted to escape from the door. And I actually tried it a few times. We had lots of fights and stuff, but I always was coming back because of that promise. I just couldn't break it because that little kid was going to pay the price for me. So I just didn't want to do it. I said, I'm gonna find another way. On top of that, my girlfriend, developed some. She actually apparently had that and hidden that from me too, another health condition. And she was supposed to kind of, if she carried on living without doing anything about it, she was going to lose her teeth, like at the age of 30. That's like horrible, horrible thing. And for a young guy who just wants to have a beautiful wife, wants to have a good life, have money, cars, and just live that dream, to find myself with broken dreams, hopeless, watching after somebody else's kids and a wife that has no teeth and living miserably and working jobs, barely paying the bills. That was not something I was willing to accept, but I was there. Like, that was the prospect that was coming for me. Had to do something about it. And I think that's when I got fired from my just another job. And the guy I was working with on that job offered me a position through a friend of his, a position in the UK to work in a car wash. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. I can go to the UK, make some more money and solve the problems, either end the relationship or come out with a solution. I will either fix everything and we'll have a good life, or I will be free in a good way. I'll support them somehow and I'll just get out. And I took that opportunity, but I didn't have any money. By that time, all the relationships with my parents, with my friends have fallen apart. And that's something very common when you're in a toxic relationship. You argue with everybody and nobody ends up like wanting to be with you. And you fight with your parents because they don't want you in that relationship. And it's just things fall apart left, right, and center. Had nobody, but my mother somehow found 500 euros to support me to buy the tickets and I can go because I couldn't find any money. And she gave me that 500 euros. I took 10 euros in my pocket, bought the tickets, and the remaining of the money just gave to my girlfriend so she can look after her and the kids whilst I'm trying to make some money. And I go there with 10 euros in the UK. I had a bag of old clothes, and at first I had a place to live. This owner of the car wash, he also had a house and he was renting out the rooms to the people who work for his car wash. And I go live with him. But the problem was I had to pay for that house from the money that I make in the car wash, but the car wash was making zero. And I ended up owing him money in the second week. So I quickly realized I have to just get out of there immediately. And I did that. I found another car wash, which not apparently, it turned out to be a very bad place. I'll call it out. So I hope one day they shut them down. This place still exists. These are two guys from Kosovo that treat people like slaves. This is still exists. It's on Leighton Buzzard Road in Hemel Hempstead. This car wash, everybody knows about it. Nobody does shit about it. You go there, you work for £30 a day, and you work 12 hours, very hard job, very busy car wash, and they shout at you all day long and they want you to work fast. It's cold, miserable, and wet, and you have almost nothing to eat all day, no time for breaks whatsoever, and horrible, horrible treatment from these people. And I found myself there. And still with a little bit more money, £30 a day was better than no money, but I still had to pay £80 for rent. So I was left with just a few pounds to eat. So I was buy like donuts for 60p so I can eat cheap. And the rest of the money I had to even send back home for them to pay the bills. Again, that wasn't sustainable. So I had to find a better option. And I was willing to do anything, just a normal job, because that was not a normal job. In 3 weeks in there, I escaped from the car wash for a day, and I decided to print my CVs. And I went to a store to print my CVs, and I started walking out around the streets and just looking for signs on the doors. In the UK they put these printed A4 papers with look for stuff like kitchen porters, dishwasher, or somebody, a waiter. And I was going everywhere. literally everywhere, giving my CVs. I was barely speaking English. At that time, I was studying the language as I was moving along on my own, just through pieces of paper and stuff. And I got lucky. One guy called me on the next day, but before that, actually on the same day when I got back, they told me if you get out of the car wash again, because they did not let me go, you're out on the streets. That's how horrible these people were. And I knew if I now go for the test, which I was called, so a guy from Subway called me and said, I want to give you a try for a day. Can you come? And I was like, 100%. I will come and I will be on the streets, and that's fine. And I went, and that happened. He liked me. Luckily, I'm very grateful for that. He liked me. He didn't know what I was going through. But anyway, he accepted me, and I go back, and I was kicked out in the night, just before the night comes, like on the street. I got my back, and that's how the even the tougher part of the journey became. A couple of days, 2, 3 days, I was just walking around the streets because if I stop somewhere, I'll freeze to death. That was like midwinter, still in the UK, no clothes. Yeah, not a funny place. So I survived somehow, found a place to live later on. A woman gave me a place for a few weeks, and I had a deal with her to pay her later, but she never took the money. So bless her, very good woman. But I couldn't stay there forever. And I decided then to find a place to live. But the money from Subway was, first of all, not there yet. And even if it's coming, I had to send it most of it somewhere to my girlfriend, and to buy food. It just wasn't enough. A salary in Subway is like less than £300. It was like 240 or 50 a week to start with. And I found a garage to rent a garage without electricity, without water. And I said I'm gonna just live in there until I get better. And that's the type of place where you rent it online, and they give you a code, you enter the code in the padlock, and you just open the metal door. It's an open structure outside, it's no electricity, no water. It's 3.5 miles away from the work, from the job. But I took it, and I ended up living there for 18 months. And yeah, that was a big journey. That was a big journey. All that time I was just grinding, working crazy hours, walking for hours every day just to get to work and come back. Had so many journeys in there, surgeries, car crashes, and just surviving through all that thing. And I think what's a highlight is that it wasn't the struggles that made it hard. So you sometimes hear people live on the streets or get kicked out, live in their cars, and you might think, oh, that's a horrible thing that can happen to you. Well, it did happen to me, something like that, very badly. It happened for a very, very long time. And that wasn't the hard part. I always had faith that maybe somehow I'll make it. Maybe somehow I'll go through the other side. But being alone for that time, no friends, in foreign country, isolated, lost all relationships, in a super toxic relationship with that woman. That loneliness, I'm telling you, this is like something nobody wants to go through. It is very, very, very tough. And that nearly broke me. I definitely wanted to end my life on a few occasions, but I kept going because I'd given a promise, and also there was reasons that I stayed alive. So fast forward, I got promoted as a manager there because I was the hardest working guy in the city. Then I found another job, Amazon, as a driver. I was promoted there as a supervisor almost right away as well. Just I was working harder than anyone. Like there was no chance somebody in the whole city works any harder than me. It's absolutely impossible. And people were just saying that, and they just promote me as soon as they can. And like 4 years into the relationship, almost 4 years, I ended up fixing all her health problems. So we made all the money that I needed. It was like £10,000 in total. All that time I was paying her bills and stuff, eating donuts, horrible health, but still going to the gym to take showers every day. And on the day that I ended up paying for everything, and we even bought a car because I took a little loan from the bank. I bought a car so we can go back home and live together and overcome everything in my life. And on that very same day, she's posting a photo with another guy on Facebook after receiving the car, by the way. She played it very well. And then I was very angry. I gotta tell you, I really was kind of furious for a few seconds. I called her right away. She said, I'm in love with him. And I didn't know what to say. I just hung up. And that anger, it's like in 10 seconds, it just mixed up with excitement and joy. I was free. I made it. That was it. I got out of the whole shit. That was a turning point when I realized I have some superpowers. What I just did, like I never believed I could do it. I was always that quitter guy, always not able to really push myself that much. The only reason I went through all that shit was because of that kid. And somehow I made it. Now I knew I'm free, but I'm still nowhere. So now I had to put the same effort that I put, which I'm very grateful because I learned that I can do it. I didn't know I can do that shit. Now I know I can do it, and I said I'm gonna do it for myself now, and I'm not gonna stop until I become very successful in life. So money was still the driving force, and I decided to work on myself, and I did. And I started a business with my friend. Business was going well. Unfortunately, we split in 2 years, and everything fell apart. And then I found myself at the age of about 27 or 8 years old in a foreign country, working a regular job. No chance to achieve my dreams and my ambitions. No girlfriends, no families, not looking great at all. I was looking really not impressive. What you're seeing right now with me is like visually, it's not the way I looked back then. I was a bit fat. I was very ugly, you would say. Yeah, at that point, it was a realization that I have to do something with my life without messing it up. And I spent 6 months studying successful people, seeing what's the common between the people that I really admire and so on. And there was a couple of things that stood out. That was not surprisingly, they all loved what they do and they never quit. And I didn't have either of these. I was always quitting for one or another reason, and I never loved anything. And I looked into my life, what really I could love. Started from there, and I looked into when I was 16 how I started training for the first time in the gym and how it gave me some strength. Then how throughout the years how I was living in the garage and going every day to the gym and lifting weights, and that was giving me mentally strength to keep going. It just gave me that ability to live and go through all the shit that I had to go through. And I said, if I'm going to do something crazy like that, I might not be an athlete. I might not be knowing anything about it, not anything about sports, but that's the only thing I can commit to. So I said, I'm going to commit to that. And it was a relief that dropped. Like I realized I made the best decision in my life. I knew it at the moment I made it. And that's how I committed to this. And I said, I'm never going to quit. I will just straight on. This is me from now on. New person, new life. Few months later, I was saved by God. I found God, and my life completely turned around. Everything has just changed, and everything improved so much. And I was very blessed then. Was put in the right place during COVID with a lot of very experienced veterans in the health and fitness industry who really taught me a lot of things. I practically founded one of the biggest and the best communities for health and fitness professionals on Clubhouse back in the day when it was very popular. And I built a lot of connections, a lot of friends, and I was the host of an event that was happening every single day for like 3 hours. We talk straight and we have these debates of experts and scientists and athletes and you name it, like we had it. They all were arguing and discussing topics which were very important and all in the area of health and fitness, and mindset, all this kind of stuff. So it gave me that knowledge, and that's when I started building up my business. I started serving people. I started going to their houses and giving them that extra support and accountability because it was kind of obvious for me that just a nutrition plan or a training plan won't cut it. You give to somebody a training plan, it's not gonna do shit. You have to just help these people change internally. And they need a lot of accountability often. Sometimes they just need a conversation. They need to understand how to think. It's not the way they think for sure. If it works in the way they are right now, they wouldn't be there. So they definitely have to change. And that's what I committed to do. So I started really coaching them without even knowing actually it's called coaching. And like maybe after like I had my first two clients, it was a while before I realized it's actually called coaching. And I was like, okay, my thing is already discovered. I haven't discovered the hot water, but it's there, and I have to call myself a coach. And that's how the Coach PK practice came up. Right now, it has grew up into a big community, which I called again Limitless Body and Mind. like the one before. We have annual health and fitness retreats. It's a great thing that's growing and changing lives, and I'm very, very grateful for where I am right now. It feels like I was just put into here. It was all given to me by God, and it's just how it happened.
Man, what a journey. Yeah, that's like a movie right there. I mean, that's something you see in the movie. You probably wouldn't believe it if you saw it in a movie, right? That's too far fetched, right? This guy was way over here, but man, I like when you talk about I have that superpower now. I think that's so cool. People realize, hey, I have the superpower. I
Yeah,
have something that I can do that I'm special. And man, it was in you all the time. But you just realize that, and look at you now, man. Just from where you were to where you are now. I think it's very inspiring to get your clients to know that, hey, I've struggled too. I've been where you are. Hey, I know the path. Hop on this path. I'll walk you there because I know how to get there. I've been on this path. So
precisely, man.
when you work with your clients, is there kind of one tip you give them when they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling like they're struggling, and just kind of get them through a plateau? How do you help people through those?
Well, it depends why are they at the plateau, right? There's like always two scenarios, like mostly. When people are at a plateau, either because they have just been trying way too hard and just things keep coming and they just can't handle the whole pressure and stuff. And that's maybe a period where you just have to support them, do their best until things calm down, but still make sure they keep pushing and keep trying to be better. And just at that position, a person needs to just keep fighting. Other times, people are at a plateau because they complain from their jobs, they complain from everything in their life, in business and relationships, but they do nothing about it. So at that time, we have a different approach, get on and start doing your workouts and do something because your workouts are the best therapy that you can have. I don't think it's anything better. We can argue that's the best thing you can do if you want to improve any situation in your life is start training physically, exercise, lifting weights, and watch the magic happens. That will give you lots of things, energy, motivation. It's gonna give you hope and strength to fight forward another day.
Yeah, that's where that accountability you talked about comes in. Like, hey, we know
Yeah,
what you need to do. I'm gonna help you do that. Okay, that's why you're my client. That's why I'm your coach. That's what you talked about. How I'm a coach. That's what a coach does, right? So, are there small
yeah,
kind of little, I don't know, habits you give your clients to help them kind of keep them moving forward?
yeah. There are a few key habits which we always try to focus on. One of them is a morning routine, which I believe it's very important. If you start your day in a random fashion, most of the time you'll be starting it in the wrong way. You'll eat the wrong foods, you'll sleep late, you'll miss half your tasks that you have to do, then you'll try to catch up all day long. That will then make it very hard for you to do your workouts or spend the time needed to prepare the right foods. If you eat the wrong foods in the morning, you might feel, emotionally eating later on in the day. There's a lot of negatives in having a random morning if you're trying to change. If you're having like a super, super relaxed life and everything is good and you don't need to work and you have no pressure, sleep all you want, but most people are not in that situation. And if you have a lot of responsibilities, you better know exactly how you're going to start the day. So we have these morning routines, a very good strong wake up where you go outside under the sun, if possible, or at least open the window so you allow some sunlight to go through your eyes. That really helps reset the circadian rhythm. It helps people wake up and then also helps them fall asleep in the evening, which is really cool. And when you wake up, well, you want to do something with it, like stretching, maybe some moving around. We aim not to have breakfasts or coffee first hour when you wake up. I think that's such a key as well, allowing your body to clear off and to just start functioning before you start loading it with shit. And this morning routine is a habit that I teach everyone. Another thing that might be very, very helpful is i- people people often I find struggle with doing their workouts when time comes for the workout. So you want to create a habit that helps you start the workout. I personally have one. Like I know exactly when I'm going to be training, or plus minus 1 hour, but I know the window of the day that I'm going to be training. And when that window comes, I'm not always like excited about the workout. Sometimes I feel like shit. Sometimes I feel like, yeah, definitely, I really want to go. But you have to be prepared for the times when you feel like shit. You have to be prepared. And the way I do this, I have a habit before every workout. When time comes, when I know that I have to now start training, first of all, I play some music. That's my one. Okay, everybody I think has to develop their own, but I think that's a good one. I play music that's going to uplift me, and probably the music that I'm going to be listening at the workout. Start moving around. Put on my training clothes. I might just tidy up a little bit the room, do something dishwashing or whatever it is, just to get my blood and everything moving, and also to complete some small tasks that will bring this motivation in me. You know, when you complete something, you feel motivated because you now see hope. You can do more and more, and it empowers you. And by the time you complete all these tasks, like in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes, you've listened to great music, you started moving, and you've done some jobs, and you're now ready to go to work out. And we call that a habit. Like, it's a combination of more habits, but it starts with me playing the music. I always do that. When I play the music, I stop working immediately. Work stops, laptop gets shut down, are closed, and I just focus on me getting myself ready for a workout. And I think a lot of people can benefit from that. Everybody I teach this, because that's how we make training really stick. You can't just let something take your training slot, like a phone call. Well, if you're getting phone calls and when you're supposed to be training, that means you haven't put your training in your calendar. So you make sure your training is in your business calendar, not just in your personal. You're unavailable there, and people know about it.
That's great
Put that
advice.
in
'Cause I think people just kind of wait for it to happen, or they wait for the magic motivation fairy to sprinkle dust on them. They'll feel motivated. And you said it yourself. I mean, I'm a fitness guy too. You're
yeah,
not going to feel like it most of the time.
yeah,
Do it anyway. You got That's why I say they think motivation come action creates that motivation. That's why that habit you're talking about is so important. Just go
yeah,
do some things, and the magic will happen. That's great teaching right there.
yeah. You're right. Yeah. It doesn't just come up. Like, it takes effort to live this life. It's about, accepting the responsibility, first of all, and it's your responsibility to keep yourself fit, nobody else's. And if you love the people around you, if you love your family, your kids, and you want to be with them and you want to support them and be the best version for them, able, strong, and fit to provide and love, then that's a responsibility 100%. And if you just take it lightly, like if you just leave it like it's not important, you are doing the service to anyone, and you gotta put it at least as high a level as your job. It needs to be, in my opinion, higher. Self-care training, it's above my business responsibilities. I have days when I have bad days in business, a lot of pressure. I don't give a fuck. Sorry for the language. I just don't. I go for my workout. And I use my training time to think. By the way, it's a great time to think. When you train, it's a great time to solve problems, get motivated, inspired, and just get back on track.
That's
Like the
it. I think
best.
some people just
Yeah.
keep banging their head against a work problem or something like that. If they'll step away, go for a run, a jog, a workout,
Oh,
something, get moving, the problem will probably come to you. The solution will probably come to you. Some
absolutely.
creative problem will come in there. If you just sit there and bang it, you're only getting worse. It's not getting any better. Get out there and move, and it's going to help you. Kind of on that same vein, how do you help people that they got the busy work life, they got the busy family life? How do they balance all that? What are some more tips on that?
Well, it's about finding how long time they actually have really available realistically to spare. And some people really have very, very minimal amount of time, and we're talking like 3 days a week for 20 minutes. We have these extreme cases. Most people are able to spend a little bit more time every other day, maybe 20 minutes a day, even 30 minutes or more. And it's about, again, prioritizing it very high, wake up on time, have a routine, and then find a way to work out in the most efficient way. So you don't want to be going to the gym on the other end, in the other end of the city just because your friend goes there. If you don't have the time, you'll be training in your living room. Like, you do literally whatever it takes. And that's something that's not widely spread as a culture, to train in your house or in your bedroom. But I think that's totally wrong, and that's a cultural problem there. What's the problem in training at home? You should be able to train at home. Everybody should have a pair of dumbbells at home. I think that's the most normal thing. Some people are like, dumbbells, I don't have dumbbells at home. I'm like, how can you live without dumbbells at home? I mean, they're sometimes necessary. You have to have these things, maybe they're just there as a backup when you can't go to the gym. So you have to be able to train somehow, find a way, regardless where it is, and then find a workout that you can fit in this window. Instead of just scrolling through Instagram and looking at the most impressive physique that you can find and think, I want to train like that guy, which is absolutely never going to stick for a busy individual. You should approach it the other way around. Observe your life and think about what can fit inside, and then maybe speak to a professional to understand what kind of workouts will be best for your physique and your needs. That's the right approach to take.
Yeah, I think you said something so important too. Just, hey, the best workout is the one you'll actually do. Like I said, if your friend's across town, he's at the best gym in town, they get awesome workouts, but you can't get there anytime, maybe once a week less, it's not going to work out. But in your living room, hey, it's always there. Those dumbbells are always there. They're just waiting on you. And if you know what you're doing, or if you have a coach guiding you through, there's so much you can do with just a pair of dumbbells. I mean, you get an amazing workout, right? And there's no excuses. It's right there. You know, you step away from your office, go in the living room, knock some things out. 20 minutes, you can get a great workout in. I think some people get in that trap, but I don't have 2 hours to work out every day. A lot of us don't either, but we still get it in, right? And that's where you come in. That's why it's so important to have a coach.
Yeah, precisely right. I totally agree.
So I know people are like, man, well, how do I work with this guy? Well, what is this guy? Do I have to go in? Is he going to make me do Bulgarian split squats all day long? What's this guy's? So how can people catch up with you and work with you?
I do love Bulgarian split squats, by the way.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
I love them. Yeah. So you can find me anywhere in any platform if you search for my name, Petar Krastav. The best way to find me is in Google. If you type my name, Petar Krastav, in Google, or if you want more direct approach, just go to pk.coach. That's like literally pk.coach. That is my website. You can see videos about me there, talking, explaining how the whole thing works, and you can also contact me there. But as I said, in any social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are, if you find me there, you can also message me. I'm open to chat, and I'm a friendly guy. It's okay. We can talk. We can see what can be done.
That's it. He's wanting to help you. He's helping people around the world. He can help you as well. I'll link all that in show notes. People can just clip on things if they're not very good at spelling like myself. Before we go, I just want to ask you, if there's someone out there right now, maybe they're lost and lonely and hopeless like yourself, what would you say to that person?
That's a very good question. Looking back, I think if you're lost right now, if you're really struggling right now, relationships, divorce, you're hopeless without a job, you're living in a remote town where there's nothing, and you just feel like absolutely no exit. Remember that you can change all of these things. You can change the place you live. You can change your friends. You can change your environment, your circle. You can change your job, and you should not be afraid of that. What's in your life right now does not define you. It's some things that you can change, and yes, there might be real danger there. It might mean if you change your job and you move to a new city, you might find yourself on the streets. If that's what it takes, who said we're not supposed to go on the streets? I was there, and I was there for a long time, and it wasn't a big deal. The big deal was living in a life that you really don't like, and you're being stuck there and feeling alone and isolated and having no future. That is the real big deal. Feeling like there's no hope. That is really bad. If you're just out on the streets, if you're just taking some risks, who cares? Like, so what? Like, really? Honestly, just take a risk and make a change in your circumstance, job, whatever it takes. Whatever is holding you back and you really don't like in your life, even if it's everything, then break the mold, get out of that frame. This does not define you. You can do anything. And you still have time. When I was going through my shit, it felt like taking it forever. It felt like literally that's my whole life draining in front of my eyes. I'm still 33, way ahead of my game since then. Like, that period just passed, and it was absolutely hopeless. Started from absolutely zero, and even below zero, and still managed to get out and still be young and still have a good life. So if I can go through all that shit, that means there is time. You can do it, and you should just make a change. Be brave.
There you go. Hey, this isn't just something he read about in a book. He's done it himself, and he's helping other people make that change. It's not too late. That's the whole thing. You can still make those changes. You got choices. Every day you wake up, you got choices. You can do different ones. Tomorrow, you can make a different decision, change your whole life. Peter, thanks so much for coming on here, man, sharing your story. So inspirational that you didn't give up. It has so many opportunities to give up, and you did. So thanks for coming on here. And if you guys are listening right now, please share this episode. Someone needs to hear Peter's story. Maybe they're going through something similar, and that's hope. You talked about earlier, he read in the book that, hey, if this guy can do it, so can I. with his story. If they need to hear that, they can say, if he can get through it, so can I. So, Peter, keep up the awesome work, man. We'll link all your information in the show notes so people can work with you. Thanks so much for coming on. We'll see you guys next week on the Relentless Positivity Podcast.